Hey everybody, Danny Maude here. Thanks for joining us. How often have you hit a shot right down the middle of the fairway only to struggle to reach the green with your second shot? Either because you just don't have the power or you just can't strike it consistently. You're often striking the ground behind the golf ball. It's so frustrating, isn't it? Well, don't worry. This was exactly the same situation for a recent student of mine this week, David. David comes to see me and he's consistently striking the ground behind the golf ball and he's only hitting 7-iron around about 130 yards on average. But look, by the time we'd finished, we got one of his shots up to 172 yards, but his average moved to 160 to 165. So almost a 20+ yard gain on his iron shot on that 7-iron. Amazing. Now, all we did was simply move him from what I call a low to high swinger to a high to low swinger. The difference, in his own words, was effortless. And in this week's golf lesson, I'm going to share with you exactly what we did, because I see this so often with not just pole ball strikers, but people who struggle with curvature too. So that's what I'm going to cover in this week's golf lesson. Now, if you're new to the channel, it's one of your first videos of mine, please consider subscribing. Press that little bell button, next subscribe button, you get notified every time I release a video just like this one. Plus, you do not need to remember a thing. I'll put a free downloadable practice plan in the description box below. So let's help you start reaching those par fours now in 2 shots by helping you do what all good players do. They have a high to low swing. What do I mean by that? Well, look, this golf ball, good players, the club comes from a high position. It hits the golf ball and reaches its lowest position after the golf ball. That's what the club is doing. How's it doing that? Well, the body's also helping it. The body is also going from a high position moving to a lower position where the handle is ahead of the golf ball at impact. Look at this here, look. The pressure's on my lead foot here. I'm going high to low. It's a high to low position. From here, that is how you're going to compress the golf ball. The power will come just afterwards when it goes from high to low, and then you use the ground to explode through the golf ball. This pushes off, and that's how it goes, and you get this speed. If you're struggling to strike the ball, what you're going to be doing is doing the opposite to that. You're going to be swinging from a low to high position. What do I mean by that? Watch this. Your impact is this. You're swinging low. Your lowest point now is behind the golf ball, the opposite. And then you're starting to swing high through the shot. You'll notice this because you'll be getting this flicky, horrible strike. Sometimes this chicken wing starts to pop out here. Your weight's on your back foot, or you're struggling to get through the shot. Huge loss of power. You're adding loft through the shot. Again, all these factors are taking away your power. So what do you need? Well, what do you notice about those two movements? One is like you're going downhill, and the other one is like you're going uphill. Keep that in mind for a second, because those two factors are going to really help you as we go through this lesson. But also notice this, the golf swing is not dissimilar to a jump, all right? When you jump, you start high, you go low, then you go high. Golf is simply a rotational jump. Watch this. We swing to the top. We're in a high position, but with some rotation. We go low, and then watch. We go high. So it goes high to low to high. That's the motion. It's a simple rotational jump. Question is, how do you go about doing it? Because it's maybe not as simple as that, right? So how do you go about doing it? How do we get David to do it? Very straightforward. Look, just like jumping, you've got to start off in the right place. Do you start with a jump here? No, you start here. So with David, we made sure that he was set up properly. He wasn't. Initially, he was set up to bent over. So he wasn't in the jump position or in a position to come into a jump. He was basically here with his bum way too far behind his heel line. His body's too far over. And then what would happen from this position, he would start in a low position here. He's in a low position at the top of the swing, move straight to a high position. That would get him lifting up the ball, catching the ground behind the golf ball, and obviously all the power is being released, because watch, when you in a sense jump too soon, all these lovely angles get released. Angles here, look, get released too early, and you get into this flicky motion. Watch the difference. If you start to see this, watch this. When you go lower, you can maintain those angles naturally, okay, into this position. Then you release them right at last minute when you jump later. Why? Because you go from high to low versus low to high. Very, very important. So posture is the first stage with this. Make sure you're in a position where you can actually go high to low. Second thing was simply teaching him how to move the body. He was so used to being in a low position at the top of his swing with his weight too much on his back foot that he would always push off and go to a high. So I needed him to I gave him a very simple image. I said, at the top of your swing, I want you to imagine you're on a big downhill slope and you're simply moving downhill this way, right? I don't want you where you were before, which is this. He's on his back foot here and he's literally going uphill. What do I mean by that? Watch this. All I wanted him to do was bend his lead side and extend his trail side. So look at this. If you want to get into a higher position at the top of your swing, this trail side needs to naturally extend, straighten if you like. Look at this. Straighten a little bit. This pushes the right hip, my trail hip, higher than the left. All right? This gets me moving up, 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 up. Again, now look, I'm in a position to do what? Go down. Notice this. If I imagine I want to be almost falling, look, into the golf ball. And it's a great image for you. Move into a position, like a jump, move into a position where basically you can almost fall, I'm exaggerating here, fall this way. So we're moving onto the back foot, and then just before we get to the top, we're going to fall into that ball, like this. Very different to this. What David was doing was going all into his back foot here, then into his front foot. Too late. We want to be arriving into that front foot earlier, just when we get to about halfway. Just imagine you're kind of falling downhill into this golf ball. Now I've got to be really careful because I'm injured, so I can't really hit probably a full shot here, which is a bit of a shame. But I just want you to imagine here, you've got a nice tall posture, you're moving back, and just before you hit the top of your swing here, everything's extending and you're literally falling into the shot. Okay, that's all we did initially. We didn't do anything else. We to start with, just literally got him back here and then just falling into that shot. Okay? Now, once he'd done that, it was a very different feeling. He couldn't believe how easy it was and effortless it was to strike the ball because look, the natural motion was literally getting him this descending blow. So all we then did was this. One thing that really amped it up and really made it absolutely ping, he was swinging it back too slowly. I got him to actually speed up the backswing because it does something really magic. I know you've probably been told to keep it low, slow, this is all traditional, but what we're learning through science is, look, if you swing this club back just a little bit quicker, your body will react to that. Because when you throw a force this way, your body doesn't want to fall that way with it, so it kind of reacts to it and goes and tries to resist that force. Does that make sense? And so when you throw it back here just a little bit quicker, it's a better way and a more natural way to get your body transitioning back downhill to get back to that position here, yeah? So add some speed into your backswing so that you can start to get this downhill motion, because as soon as you get the downhill motion, you're starting to get into the impact conditions that you need to strike this golf ball. So the drill I gave him for this one was, I said, look, do a few swings where you start forward, feel that momentum. So as you're swinging back, I want you to, when you feel like you're around about here, I really now want you to imagine you're falling into your golf ball. So I don't want you to go all the way back and then start falling. I want you to imagine you're going to start falling when you feel like you're around about here. Swing it back, and then away you go. Swing it back, away you go. So suddenly now, he's getting this fall very early. He's forming this platform in his lead foot very early to use that to then power through the ground. That's where his extra distance came from. So let's have a look at this in action. So again, I've got to be a little bit careful, but swing it back and then power through. So swing it back and then power through. Okay, not too bad. So let's summarize there. You need to basically be going for a high to low motion. This is nothing complicated, just like a jump, a rotational jump in golf. It's a high to low to high motion. How do you do this? You've got to have a posture that starts high first. So make sure you've got your backside in line with your heel line or just beyond, right? Make sure your weight's on the balls of your feet. You're not too bent over, right? That's your posture. Then just imagine when you get to the top of the swing, you're in a much higher position. Almost feel like you're almost going downhill. I'm exaggerating here loads, by the way, but you're going downhill. How can you do this? Make sure this happens. Your lead side bends while your trail side extends. Lead side bend, trail side extends. I've got a great video going into detail. I'll put this up in the top right hand corner for you. Go and check it out. So that's a cracker. So that's there. Then, so you're literally feeling this kind of, feeling like it's leaning in. Now, I am not saying you start leaning in here too early. Get that pressure moving to that trail side, and then just when it gets around about here, really just feel like you're just falling into this lead foot. This is going to get that lovely angle for impact, that lovely compression, and once you form that platform, this part will naturally fire offwards, so you get this high to low to high motion. That's all we did. It was just amazing how effortless it was. Just a simple change of pattern in the way he moved from a low to high motion to a high to low motion. That was it. It really was. So I really, really hope this helps. If it does, give it a thumbs up. Maybe share it with some of your friends who could do with some help with this exact problem. And look, if you're new to the channel and you haven't seen one of these videos before, please consider subscribing by pressing that bell button as well so I can notify you every week. But until next week, have a great golfing week.